Your scalp won't stop itching. It feels irritated and you keep scratching even without thinking. You have tried all the shampoos for sensitive scalp, hair oils, serums and whatnot, and they either don't work or they work for some time and then the itching just comes back. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Hi, I'm Dr. Alpna Mohta, a board-certified dermatologist, and I have seen thousands of patients who would literally scratch their scalp until it got red and started bleeding. So in this video, I want to walk you through what's exactly going on with an itchy scalp. By the end of this video, you should know what kind of products and shampoos you should use to tame the itching of your scalp and what kind of products you should absolutely stay away from. Okay, so first let's understand the causes for itching of scalp. So there are three major drivers of scalp inflammation or itching of the scalp, and if you're just treating one of them but not all, the itching would eventually come back. The first and the most important culprit is microbes, specifically a fungus known as Malassezia, which is associated with dandruff. So there's a common misconception that if you don't have any flakes on your scalp, you don't have dandruff or Malassezia infection. But you need to understand that all of us have Malassezia, and that's completely normal. Malassezia is actually a part of your scalp microbiome which is supposed to be there on your scalp and the rest of your skin to keep harmful pathogens away. But just like everything else that is alive, Malassezia also needs food. And on your scalp, this food is your oil. If there is too much of oil, the amount of Malassezia will obviously increase. And then instead of keeping the harmful pathogens under control, Malassezia would start growing rampantly. And that's how most cases of seborrheic dermatitis arise. When Malassezia breaks down the natural oils or sebum on your scalp, it creates some byproducts which can be irritating, like free fatty acids or oxidized lipids, which inflame the scalp, making it red, itchy, scaly and sensitive. This can eventually disrupt the scalp barrier, more prone to getting other harmful pathogens, leading to secondary bacterial and fungal infection in the form of folliculitis or pyoderma. A lot of times when people don't have dandruff on the scalp but itching, they just automatically start believing that their scalp is dry and they end up using more oils. But more oils equals more Malassezia growth. And the dandruff flakes that happen in Malassezia don't just happen overnight. Often the inflammation and the infection with Malassezia keeps going on for months before you will start seeing any dandruff flakes. So even if you don't have visible dandruff, you definitely might have fungal infection. Another very common culprit of scalp itching in children, especially in developing countries, includes dermatophytosis, also known as tinea capitis. It happens from a superficial fungal infection which causes ringworm. In scalp, this infection can cause loss of hair, pustule formation and even scarring on the scalp. The second most important cause is something that people often call dry scalp. But you need to understand that it's more nuanced than that. Just like rest of your skin, the scalp also has skin. Although it has a lot of oil glands and a forest of hair growing out of it, it has a skin barrier, lipids that hold the skin cells together, and it prefers to have a certain moisture balance. If you're using very harsh shampoos or if you're washing your hair too frequently, this barrier definitely gets stripped away. The lipids are lost, the skin cells stop working properly, and the moisture balance is lost. This also happens very frequently in people who are used to washing their scalp with very hot water. Other common culprits for dry scalp include very frequent use of hot blow dryers very close to the scalp skin, cold and dry weather with heaters turned on all the time and no moisture in the air if you're using air conditioners. Also, to make things worse, at times our scalp can be both oily and dry at the same time. Just like our face, we have the T-zone where the forehead and the nose stay oily and the cheeks can stay dry. The same thing can happen for your scalp. And that's when you end up with oily roots but dry skin. The hair follicle roots are super oily, the hair is oily, but the surrounding skin between each hair follicle is dry and itchy. The third piece of the puzzle is allergens on your hair products and inflammation. So let's say you're taking care of the microbes, you've also taken care of the dry skin, but if the product that you're using contains allergens, then your scalp itching will not improve. In a lot of hair products, these allergens include fragrances and preservatives. The two most infamous allergens include methyl isothiazolinone and methyl chloroisothiazolinone. They are often called as the HEMs. Lab Muffin has made a very beautiful video on this topic. Other uncommon allergens include parabens and colorants present in many shampoos, herbal ingredients which are extensively found in a lot of Ayurvedic and quote-unquote clean shampoos. The most reliable way to know if you are allergic to any ingredient in a shampoo or any other cosmetic product for that matter is patch testing. If you have been diagnosed with any specific allergy to a certain ingredient, please always read the ingredients list before buying a product. Another related cause of scalp itching is chronic inflammation. The most common cause of inflammatory scalp diseases include psoriasis, seborrheic dermatitis, seborrheic, lichen planus, and other causes of scarring alopecia. Now, if you go to a dermatologist, definitely they will help you in coming up with the diagnosis, and according to your diagnosis, they will treat you. But as a consumer and as a patient, how can you know at home that's what's causing your scalp itching? So your itching is more likely to be microbe driven if you've ever had dandruff or flaky scalp in the past, your skin and scalp tend to be oily, you live in a hot and humid climate, you don't wash your hair frequently, your scalp feels worse when you go longer between shampoos, and it improves a bit when you use an anti-dandruff shampoo. On the other hand, your scalp itching could be driven by dry scalp or barrier disruption if you have generally dry or sensitive skin or eczema, you live in a place which is cold, dry, or you use air conditioners all the time. You wash and blow dry your hair very frequently, your scalp feels tight or it stings right after washing, you use a lot of strong clarifying or deep conditioning shampoos. And your scalp itching could be driven by an allergy if the itching starts or worsens after starting a new product, only specific shampoos or hair masks trigger it. You also get itching when clothes or detergents touch your skin and you have a history of other contact allergies. And finally, your scalp itching is likely to be driven by an autoimmune or immune-mediated skin disease. If there are thick and coarse white scales on your scalp that bleed when you scratch them out, your scalp has small black dots all over it, or if you have scarring spots, there is permanent but patchy hair loss over different parts of the scalp. If you have a family or personal history of psoriasis, lichen planus, or other autoimmune diseases. Okay, so now the million-dollar question. How do we fix this? To tackle the microbes on the scalp, Malassezia, you can use anti-dandruff, anti-fungal shampoos containing 1 to 2% ketoconazole, selenium sulfide, cycloperox, zinc pyrithione, pyroxetone olamin, and climbazole. Ketoconazole is one of the most widely used ingredient for anti-dandruff shampoos. It is also one of the most effective treatments for dandruff, but sometimes with chronic use, people might become resistant to it. That's why often I would advise my patients that if you have been using ketoconazole for long term and gradually you feel that the itching on your scalp is starting to come back, you should try using these shampoos in rotation. Like for the sake of example, for 3 months you can use ketoconazole, for next 3 months you can use selenium sulfide, then for the next 3 months you move to something containing another molecule like cycloperox, and then repeat the cycle. Now, despite their wide usage, patients end up making some common mistakes which reduce the efficacy of these antifungal shampoos. The first one is focusing only on the hair and not the scalp. Now you have to understand that your hair is actually dead. This thing is dead. It's not alive. None of these hair cells are alive. So what we really need to treat is the scalp and not the hair. And that's why when you apply an antifungal shampoo, apply it on the scalp, lather it up a little bit, keep it on for at least 8 to 10 minutes, and then you rinse it off. If you tend to have dry hair, you don't need to apply the shampoo separately on the hair. When you're washing your scalp off, the foam will automatically fall down over your hair by virtue of gravity and clean it by itself. Another common mistake is not using it as frequently as required. You need to use an antifungal shampoo like therapy at least twice a week to see ideal results. It doesn't mean that if you have super oily scalp, you only wash your hair 2 times a week. If you have to wash your hair even every day, you can use an antifungal shampoo. Every day you just apply it like a regular shampoo, put it on your scalp, lather it up, and then you wash it off. But at least 2 times a week you have to use it like therapy for 8 to 10 minutes. The third most common mistake is using conditioners on the scalp. Conditioners are only meant to be applied on your hair and not the scalp. You need to keep at least 1 inch gap between your scalp from where you start applying your conditioner. Because almost all of the conditioners contain some or the other form of dimethicone, silicones, and these heavy butters like shea butter, cocoa butter, coconut and whatnot, which can clog the hair follicles, clog the oil producing glands and make your seborrheic dermatitis or dandruff worse. Another common mistake that I see people making all the time is washing their hair with just water. Believe me, it's doing more harm than good. The function of our hair is to actually trap heat. So every time you wash your hair with just water, there is heat, there is moisture. What grows on heat and moisture? Microbes, bacteria and fungus. And that's why, to make sure that your scalp stays clean, every time you wash your scalp, you need to cleanse it with a shampoo. If you feel that the regular anti-dandruff shampoos are making your scalp super dry, one technique that you can try is you can alternate between an anti-fungal shampoo and a sulfate-free shampoo. So that means if you wash your hair today, you use an anti-fungal shampoo. If you wash your hair again tomorrow or day after tomorrow, you use a sulfate-free shampoo. Then after 2 days again you use anti-fungal shampoo, and the cycle keeps going on. And if you suffer from super oily scalp, or if you have been diagnosed with scalp psoriasis, using a shampoo containing salicylic acid and even coal tar can make a very big difference. After washing your scalp with a shampoo, don't just leave your roots soaking wet for hours. Especially if you live in a hot and humid climate. Use your hair dryer on cool or warm setting, but not on hot. Keep at least a distance of 1 feet between your scalp and the blow dryer, and dry your roots at least for 5 minutes. If you tend to have scalp itching frequently, please stay away from hats, caps and helmets, because these things trap a lot of heat, a lot of moisture, a lot of sweat, and let's be honest, who's washing their cap or helmet every day? If your scalp tends to stay very dry, you can also use a pH balanced shampoo with a pH between 5 to 5.5. Just remember that sulfate-free shampoos are not ideal for every person, especially for people who live in super hot or humid environment, or those who have to work outdoors in daytime all the time and tend to sweat a lot. You can also use a clarifying shampoo once a week, something containing salicylic acid or clay or kaolin, but please don't overdo it. For inflamed scalp, you can use a product containing anti-inflammatories like niacinamide, vitamin E, green tea or centella. Now these things will not replace your antifungal shampoo or get rid of the microbes, but they can definitely help with relieving that itching. Another thing that you should be careful of is water quality. If you live in an area where the water is hard, containing a lot of calcium and magnesium salts, you might notice a chalky buildup in your taps. Your hair might feel rough and coated all the time, and the scalp might also feel a bit itchy and irritated. Hard water actually makes it harder for the rinse off products like shampoo to completely come off. They interact with surfactants and leave a residue, and often increase scalp irritation in people who have sensitive or dry scalp. The ideal fix for such a situation is using a water softener and using a clarifying shampoo. By the way, just so you know, a lot of companies who claim to sell water softeners are actually selling products that just reduce chlorine. But please understand that for a water softener to actually work, it needs to remove both calcium and magnesium residues from the water. So make sure you check your device properly before buying it. There are also a few brands selling a few liquid solutions which claim to chelate these calcium and magnesium salts from water, but sometimes they can cause skin irritation and skin allergies themselves. So please don't use something like this if you have eczema. Some things that make scalp itching worse are plant-based oils, because the fungus Malassezia actually feeds on these saturated and non-saturated oils. Oil can also trap heat and moisture, giving excellent ground for the microbes to grow even further. If you really want to use an oil for your hair, better apply it on the hair and not the scalp. And if you really have to apply it on the scalp, just massage it on the scalp, keep it on for 30 minutes and then rinse it off with the shampoo. No need to keep it on overnight. One more very common culprit for all kinds of scalp itching is dry shampoo. Dry shampoo can soak in the surface oil, so instantly your hair would start feeling fresh, but it doesn't remove the microbes, dirt, dust or any product buildup on the scalp. It just hides it for some time. Overusing dry shampoos can increase the inflammation in long run. One more thing that is pretty much viral on social media right now is using acid toners. But please understand, these acids only work for a subset of patients, and unless we know the cause for your scalp itching, using such kind of toners make your scalp inflammation even worse. Now let's say you've tried all of these things for maybe 2 to 3 months and still your scalp itching is not improving at all, then now is the time to see your doctor. Because what I have listed are just the most common causes. Beyond that, we also have a lot of other causes of chronic scalp inflammation and irritation, including folliculitis, pediculosis, scarring alopecia, and autoimmune hair loss, to name a few. If you develop any pustules on the scalp, sudden increase in scalp itching with rashes or maybe even fever, please see your dermatologist or healthcare provider at the earliest. So guys, that's it from my side. I hope you found this video useful. If you have any questions, doubts or concerns about hair care or how to take care of scalp itching, please drop them in the comment section of this video. Please also don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. With that, this is Dr. Alpina signing off.